So, hey, future editing James here. I did not notice that my mic actually went out when I was, doing this. So, I'm just gonna fill the space right here. You didn't really miss much. It was just me talking about what's going on in the show and making sure that you voted for me in the Thanks for Listening Podcast Award. Again, link is in the bio. Just saw the clip right there. But yeah, please enjoy the Dancing Dogs video, and the video should start with that. And vote for your boy. It's right there because I have a loud mic. One click, boom, you're there. Link's also in the bio and in the comments below, so y'all can check it out there. We do have a great show for you lined up today. We are going to talk about the NFL draft, recapping everything that went down there. We're also going to talk about the real reason why Shedeur failed so far he did. We're also going to talk about the winners and the losers for the NFL draft, and we're also going to talk about NBA news, where I think it may be time for Pat Riley to move on, as well as is Giannis and Jokic possibly getting ready to leave their respective teams. Talk about it. But obviously, clearly the big story is the fact that Shedeur did fall to the 5th round to the Cleveland Browns. And by the way, Cleveland, weirdest draft ever, right? You trade down from 2, you pass on Travis Hunter, you get the defensive end that you wanted. Then you pick up 2 quarterbacks in the same draft, having the most oddly crowded quarterback room in the NFL. Weird, just weird. But yeah, Shedeur fell to the 5th round. Cleveland Browns picked him up. Now a lot of people. Let me preface this by saying a lot of people's arguments are correct. I just think they're using the wrong terminology. And I've seen a lot of people say, I've said it myself on TikTok, that I thought Shedeur was getting blackballed. I personally think he was, and it was more for a shot towards another family that's royalty in the NFL, who is currently going to have a 3rd generation of NFL player there. And the Manning, I think they were using the Sanders family to be like, listen, at the end of the day, it's all about the shield and who will make us the most money. And we've already seen Arch do it before with Eli, so it wouldn't be a shock for him to do it for Archie Manning, right? Arch Manning. It wouldn't be a shock. But one of the reasons I think Shedeur did fall had less to do with him and a lot to do with Dion. I think Dion is suffering what LeBron is doing right now, and what LeVar Ball kind of went through as well, is that they're showing what a father does for his kids. And I think, especially for people of certain complexion, it is hard to understand what a strong father figure looks like in their son's life, right? Because for all the wrong reasons, Dion is getting unjustifiably dragged, right? He messed up his kids' chances. Like, teams didn't want to draft him because he was cocky. Where do we get him that from, right? And, it's a lot of unnecessary dragging for Dion. Dion is purposely getting dragged for no reason. Now, again, I do think he is respectfully getting called out for saying that his son was the best quarterback in the draft, right? When it was obvious it was Cam Ward, right? I think he hyped his son up a little too much, to the fact that his son started to believe the own hype. And so we'll cross that bridge. But I think the problem is that now we are shaming Dion for being Dion, right? We've all known he's been, he's thought he was the best thing to come to the world since sliced bread. We've all known that. It is one of the reasons why we love Dion as a player. I think now that we see it from a different perspective, from being like a coach type thing, it's like, you can't be that cocky as a coach, right? You can't. And I think the problem is, now, I'll be honest, we don't like it because it's too cocky now, right? It's too in your face. It's too audacious. It's too extravagant and going on, right? Like, no, you can't do that. And it sucks for Shedeur because he is a very good starting caliber quarterback. He's not a quarterback that does light up the scoreboard or is going to have the big splashy plays. He is kind of the prototypical quarterback, especially for a rookie you want. Doesn't turn the ball over, has to work on sacks, has a high completion rate, so he makes smart decisions with the football. Right? Cool on the pressure, doesn't let too many things rattle him. But I think the problem is that when we see it, it's not where we want it to be. Like, we want that attitude on the football field. We don't like to see it in real life. And it's a culture issue, not so much a race issue, because you can't say the NFL is racist when we do have a first round pick being an African American man, right? Like, you can't make that argument for the NFL being racist. There are other arguments. We can cross that bridge when we get there. But the problem is a culture thing, right? We like Cam Ward because he's humble. He's soft-spoken. He doesn't make me feel scared to be in a room with him, right? With Shedeur, he's too outlandish. He's too cocky. He's too confident in his own abilities. That's what I want in my quarterback. Now, again, he's got drafted. He has to prove that everything he believes he is true on the field, right? But I think, unfortunately, no matter what he does, short of winning a Super Bowl, and even then, I don't think people will still finally accept the fact that he's not playing this character. He's not faking it. He's actually this confident in real life. I don't know. I don't know if that will happen because, again, he's on the Browns, so good luck. He has a strong possibility of doing it because that quarterback room is weird as hell. You got Deshaun Toucher Watson, allegedly. You got Old Man Joe. You got Super Bowl winning champion Kenny Pickett. You got Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur. Right? I think Shedeur is arguably easy quarterback 3 on this team. Right? I think it'll be Flacco, Deshaun, and then Shedeur. I like Dillon Gabriel, but I don't know how great he is outside of a few games when they played Penn State and Ohio State in that game. I haven't seen much of Dillon Gabriel. We all know what Kenny Pickett is. We all know what Joe Flacco is. But the more interesting thing is to see, this will be the most high-profile battle for the quarterback 3 position we have seen. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that his last name is Sanders. Do I think that was the reason why he got drafted? No. Do I think it's the reason why he got held back? Not necessarily. But now Shedeur has to prove it on the field. If he can back it up, there's not much you can say towards him. If he can do it on the field, he's letting his field play speak for itself. I said this in my blackballing video on TikTok, is that the worst case scenario for the NFL is if he succeeds. If he fails, right? Then the NFL, see, we showed you he's not a great quarterback. Look at him, he's not doing great. If he succeeds, the NFL is going to have to answer some questions about why is the person that's potentially balling out like this fall? Why did teams let this happen? You know, they're going to have to ask that question, especially when you're somebody like the New York Giants who traded back into the first round to get Jackson Dart just to save Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen's job. The questions that the NFL is going to have to answer, they're not going to like it. Like I said earlier, I feel like this was more of a warning shot, especially to Archie Manning, because he already pulled this once with Eli, allegedly. Right? He pulled this with Eli, so imagine what he's going to do for his grandson. Right? Imagine. So this was the NFL kind of saying, like, no, we're not going to have this. And I do want to talk about this before I head on to my next topic. Shout out to Deion, right? Like, I listed some names, you know, Deion, LeVar, LeBron, right? Shout out to them. Because they are showing you what true fatherly love will get you. It's not always what everybody expects it to be, but if you look at it correctly, all of their sons are in the league or doing things. The Sanders boys, LeBron and Bronny, never had a scandal, never caught doing anything outlandish, no arrests, no anything. Shedeur and Shiloh are in the league, college educated men. Bronny James is in the league, potentially on his way up to being, at the very least, a very good basketball player. LeVar Ball has 2 kids in the NBA. One had the world hooked up for about 3 weeks with his song, Swerve in the Corner, whoa, whoa, right? Had the world in a chokehold for like 3 weeks. I ain't gonna hold you, right? They're all doing great things. Shout out to them. That is positive showing of Black fatherhood right there. But what I want to finish this off with is it's now on Shedeur. You're in there. Yeah, you have the Sanders last name, but your dad can't play for you. You got to put up and shut up. And you have an opportunity with the Browns, who have a decent team, to prove that you were a legitimate quarterback. Prove to people that you were more than just a hype. You have the opportunity now. It is literally right in front of you. You have to take it, and if you take it and succeed, you can say that it was on your own. But if you take it and fail, you can say it was on your own. But at the very least, you prove to everybody that you do deserve to be an NFL quarterback. That's all. That's it. It's not the end of the show, but that's it on the Shedeur. I promise y'all, I wasn't gonna do like ESPN and Mel Kiper and take up the whole show with this Shedeur talk. Like to me, that was hella disrespectful too. You got guys out there who've been working for this very moment since they were 7 years old. And no matter who got drafted, the only questions we had was, well, what does this mean for Shedeur? Well, where does Shedeur go now? How far does he fall? When you not celebrating the kids' moment that they just had on national TV. Like, I am so glad Reese Davis did what he did to Mel Kiper. Because Mel Kiper was supposed to retire when he said that if Josh Rosen doesn't plan out as an NFL prospect, he's going to retire. He should have been gone already. Should have been gone. But I'm so glad Reese Davis ate him alive like he did. Right. Mel was up there defending him like he owed him money. Like, I need him to succeed. I have a lot riding on him. I need him to succeed. He needs to be in the league right now and start. Mel was out here fighting for Shedeur's life. And I feel like this is a case of, I don't even think Shedeur knows who Mel Kiper is. But yeah. So I will talk about this because it's the winners and loser thing of the draft is always weird, because it's just basically just saying, like, you picked the guy I wanted you to pick, you didn't pick the guy I wanted you to pick, so you lost this draft. But there were like 6 teams that stood out particularly for, winning and losing the draft, right? I think the first team, in my opinion, and yes, I'm going full heart, no head with this one. The Bears have the best offense in the NFC. I'm going to say it again. The Bears have the best offense in the NFC. They do. They have no more excuses anymore. They have the coach that they wanted. They have a quarterback for the future. They have 2 running backs there that can tote the ball, a revamped offensive line, and now you have, in my opinion, the most crowded receiver skill position room ever. Right? I bet Cole Kmet was watching this sweating. Like, which is unfair, right? Because Cole Kmet, by the way, I think Cole Kmet is getting disrespected because everybody popped up and said we need a tight end. I'm like, not really. I mean, y'all got Cole Kmet. I mean, a few years ago, with the guy y'all said wasn't a quarterback, he was 3rd in tight ends in the league in receiving touchdowns. He was 6th in the league in reception yards, right? Like, Cole Kmet is a tight end that can ball, right? He was on that trajectory of being the next big tight end to follow out the last class, with his, Kelsey and Kittle, right? He was in that Sam Laporta, Fire Move, that group. He was in that group of next tight ends up. And he had a down year this year, right? New quarterback, the whole offense had a down year. The whole entire offense had a down year last year. But new offensive coordinator, new offensive minded head coach, quarterback for the future, a situation in Chicago that is not rocky. Everybody knows at the very least their jobs are safe. For them to go out and get arguably one of the best tight ends in the draft, your days are numbered, buddy. I would not be shocked if Cole Kmet ends up getting traded, not this year, but next year. His days are numbered. But the Bears have an offense that can go, if Caleb can take that next step, that can go with the best in the NFC. Like not the whole NFL. I'm hedging my bet just a little bit, but not in the whole NFL because I don't know if Caleb Williams can take that next step. Obviously, with Ben Johnson there, they're going to do that. But I just don't know what that next step is because this is uncharted territory for us, guys. We don't have to worry about a quarterback for once. We have one there. That's just not okay and could be a placeholder note. Like we have our quarterback for the future. So this is uncharted territory for Bears fans. We don't know what's going to happen, right? But Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, they're going to scheme up a storm, right? I do believe, especially getting, in my opinion, the steal of the second round in Luther Burden, that was a steal. He can be the gadget play. He can be the guy that, I'll be honest with you, if they can't find somebody, he can be the guy that Jahmyr Gibbs was in that offense in Detroit. He can do a lot of things. And if this offense can get together, if this offense can gel, at the very least, get all the hiccups out for the first 3 games and start going from game 4 on, this offense has the potential to be the best offense in the NFC and challenge the upper echelon of the NFC for that, I wouldn't say Super Bowl contender spot, but definitely, 2 to 3 years down the line, be right there. They can be right there, right? The upper echelon of the NFC is, of course, right now the Super Bowl champs. You got Philly, Washington. I'll be generous and throw in Tampa Bay. You got the Rams. I think San Francisco's window has kind of sort of closed. I think the Rams are just a little bit better than them this year. So, but the Bears have the chance to be up in there, be a dark horse running for a Super Bowl champion if Caleb Williams can take that next step. And then you have a team who quietly had the best draft out of everybody, like quietly, right? Like again, the New York Giants needed a good draft to kind of help, at the very least, Brian Daboll and Joe Shane's what's the word I'm looking for? Chances of being in the league, right? Like they all know that their jobs are, hindering on what happens this season. And as a Bears fan, like I said, that's always a hard place to be as a player because you have to basically know that your coach can get fired at any second. And bringing in a young quarterback like a Jackson Dart into that hectic kind of situation could be difficult for him and is an impediment in growing in the league. I don't think they last this year. I don't think they last till the middle of the year. I truly do think that they will be fired before everything goes off. I think Jackson Dart is their quarterback of the future. I think, again, if Danny Dimes and Tommy DeVito can make Malik Neighbors look great in their limited quarterback skills, I think somebody with the skill level of a Jackson Dart can do it. Brian Daboll loves to use running quarterbacks, so I definitely think he has the capability of starting, maybe midway through the season. Because I don't think they have full faith in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. I think they are placeholders for Jackson Dart. And if Jackson Dart can start, and at the very least, make them look competitive. They don't have to win a lot of games. They just have to look competitive. I think it would be enough to trick an organization into getting our contracts extended. So, I'm not sure it did enough to save their jobs, but I will say it's a stay of execution. They bought themselves some time to kind of figure it out and see what they want to do. And then a team that needed to revamp their defense, couldn't do it because they didn't have a lot of money, but was able to get, once again, the best player from either Alabama or Georgia on their squad, which is the Eagles, right? They trade up with Kansas City because Kansas City needed that last feeling again. They're not used to picking and then someone picking after them. Like, they're not used to that. They like to end the show. But going to get Jahad Campbell, right, after he fell, going to get him and adding him to this defense already, giving Vic Fangio a very versatile linebacker that can play multiple positions on the field, adding him to an already stacked defensive line, and now a retool secondary, the Eagles can definitely make a run again. They have all of their key players there. They have everybody coming back, almost everybody coming back on offense. They have the potential to run it back again. And I just like to say this, right? Because I know this Eagle is the Eagles, so it's a hot but topic issue right now. Saquon going to the White House, to me, it's not a big deal, and people are trying to make it a big deal for no other reason than, I'll be honest with you, a lot of them are bored. They're bored. That's legitimately it. Saquon and Jay, like, for people who don't know, they're trying to make it seem like Saquon and Jalen Hurts don't like each other, and it's gonna throw off chemistry for the team. I'm like, first of all, guys, they're coworkers at the end of the day. I know brotherhood, I know all of that stuff. It gets swept up in there, but they are coworkers at the end of the day. You're going to disagree with what their coworker does, but guess what? You still got to work with him at the end of the day, especially when you're part of a multi-million-dollar organization, right? Like, a lot of people have this whole weird thing with coworkers becoming friends, right? And I just want to let everybody know that always doesn't happen. Like, I can be friendly with someone, but that don't mean you my homeboy. Only coworkers I've ever truly been, or two. There's only two ever, like, places of employment where I have genuinely made lifelong friends, which is Photogenic / Museum of Science and Industry and Ashley Furniture. The reason why is because we have trauma bonded. We have trauma bonded. Y'all two groups are with me for life. This death row over here, baby. Blood in, blood out over here. We have bonded. We are together forever in holy matrimony. But for a lot of other people, they are coworkers. They are not your friends. So you don't have to judge them for doing whatever they want to do. If they want to go to the White House, cool. If they don't, cool. But stop acting as if this whole thing about, like, you guys are tearing it apart off the locker room. Like, guys, they knew who was going to the White House. They knew which ones were supporting the Orange Man. This is not a shock to them. It's a shock to y'all because y'all don't understand how, again, places of employment work. But when you with somebody essentially 300 days out the year, you know who they are and what they do. So Saquon going to the White House is not a big deal for me. But outside of that, I don't see a team right now in the NFC that can beat the Eagles. There are very few teams in the AFC that I think can beat the Eagles. I think the Eagles have done a lot to be able to revamp this defense and potentially make another run in the Super Bowl. I hate giving out loser grades because, in my opinion, loser grades don't really equate to anything more than, like, you didn't draft the person I thought you were going to draft, so I will give you a bad draft grade, right? But there were some teams that did some head-scratching moves, right? In my opinion, the number one option was the Steelers, right? They got Will Howard in the 6th round, so they do have a quarterback there. But I feel like they were doing the whole hold out for Aaron Rodgers thing, and I don't think it worked. Right? Like, they were holding out for Aaron Rodgers, maybe seeing what's going to happen. And I think now that the draft is over, he'll probably end up signing with the Steelers. But you have to remember Aaron Rodgers is not there to cultivate and grow your young quarterback. He's there to win. And people saying like, well, if we get Aaron Rodgers, he can sit behind him and learn. Like, when was Aaron Rodgers teaching kids how to play it? Right? We saw what happened when they got Jordan Love. He didn't really teach him much there. Right? Like Aaron Rodgers is not the guru type of guy. He's the only like uptight hippie I have ever met. Right? Like he's the only one. And this weird obsession that y'all have with saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to take it there. He's 42 coming off an Achilles tear. He's not the same quarterback that he was in Green Bay. And I think Pittsburgh kind of holding out for Aaron Rodgers is kind of might end up dooming this franchise a little bit. And it might be the catalyst that finally makes Mike Tomlin be like, okay, I'm done. I'm done officially. I'm done. Right. So to me, they lost because I thought they could have done better moves to set themselves up for the future. But I do believe in Will Howard. I do think he'll be a good quarterback down the line. Just don't know when. This one is a loss because I think they are finally admitting that they don't have a plan. And that's the Dallas Cowboys. Like, they started off good, right? Like, I gave them a good grade for drafting offensive line. When your offensive line is 17th overall in the NFL, you need to rebuild, right? Zach Martin retiring, you need to go get somebody that's going to be there for you, right? In an offensive line set. And getting Booker out of Alabama was a good move, right? Strengthen that offensive line, helps be able to create holes for whoever the running back is going to be for that team, right? But the problem, they got no help for CD and Dak, right? It's still just the CD and Dak show. And yeah, they got Miles Sanders. Yeah, they got Javonte Williams. But that offense outside of CD doesn't scare me, right? They don't have anybody that can coherently play opposite of CD Lamb that's going to be a threat, that's going to, help him get open more. They double up on defense, which to me is a sign of saying they're probably going to end up letting Micah Parsons go. They're probably going to do that. I do not think the longer this goes, it favors Micah Parsons continuing signing with the Cowboys, right? Unless this is a thing where he does what Dak did early on this season, was sign right before he started to play, which I don't think will happen. I don't see Micah Parsons staying a Dallas Cowboy at the end of this year. So they're edging their bets, so to speak, to go get edge rushers that can replace the Micah Parsons. So Dallas did not set themselves up for the future because, again, when you have a guy there whose future is his past, I don't think he thinks that way. I don't think he wants to set up the Dallas Cowboys for when he is gone. He is stuck on this win now, and he thought the defense fell apart, which it kind of did through the injuries though, but they fell apart. So they needed to focus on defense when offensively you could have gotten somebody that could have helped you out. You could have gotten a running back. You could have got, a receiver, a tight end, something that was going to help Dak and CD take this offense over. And whether you're banking on being bad and being in the Arch Manning sweepstakes or trying to do, well enough to get to the playoffs, you set yourself up for failure because you have no other weapons outside of them. You don't have anything competent enough that can stop, that can, not so much stop, but that offense can produce at a high level that it needs to compete with the teams in your own division. Dallas lost because they are incapable of doing the simple things like moving on from a guy who's holding back your franchise. Yes, I know he's the owner. Yes, I know he's the president and the GM. But at what point do you need to take the keys away from Grandpa and say, you can't drive this anymore? At what point is your team constantly failing to make a deep run into the playoffs a reason to say Jerry needs to step down. And to me, this next team, isn't such at a loss where I think that they won't be able to produce at a high level. But a lot of things I said with Dallas outside of the ownership applies to this team too, which is the Buffalo Bills. They went defensive heavy on this draft. Heavy. But it's not so much that they needed defense because the defense kind of fell apart against obviously Kansas City. But offensively, they still don't have anybody outside of Josh Allen. Like they have no offensive weapons. They didn't go and get a receiver. They didn't trade their pick with Kansas City, thank the Lord. But they did not go and get another receiver for Josh Allen, who's coming off an MVP season. Do you want to have Josh Allen once again have to carry this team to a literal AFC Championship game? Right? Like you go and trade for Amari Cooper, a trade that I thought was really good, but didn't pan out because of the fact that Amari Cooper was not the same guy he was when he was in Dallas, or was he when he was in Cleveland? Right? He's not the same receiver, and for you all to get Josh Allen no type of help on the receiver side could potentially have a collapse level thing going forward. Because the reason why they couldn't win last year against the Chiefs is they ran out of offensive firepower. There was nobody on that team on the outside of the numbers that scared them enough to say we can just blitz Josh Allen all out. Right? You could have gotten a player that was going to be a threat on the outside, but you didn't. And I know why, because again, you had to retool that defense. Defensively, you guys were not great. You weren't bad either, but you weren't great on it, and it did cost you the AFC Championship game. But getting Josh Allen helps so that way you don't have to solely rely on your defense to stop Patrick Mahomes. Just like a few years ago when, again, the only reason y'all lost that game was because y'all ran out of time in a coin flip. But that was when you had a lot of receiving threat on the outside. This year, like the reason why Josh Allen won the MVP was because of the fact that he put that entire team on his back. He proved that he was the most valuable player. But I don't know if he can do that for 2 straight seasons. I don't know if Josh Allen is capable of carrying this team once again to an AFC Championship game, trying to get over that Patrick Mahomes size hump. I don't know if Josh Allen has him in him to do that 2 straight seasons, and you missed on the opportunity to at least take some of that pressure off of him. So, in my opinion, that made the Bills the biggest losers of the NFL draft this year. Don't see another 7-game miraculous comeback in the stars this year. I think the Lakers may end up being booted out. I can't wait for the LeBron James, Kip James, King James Bible, Timberwolves in 5 memes to come up. Even though Shannon's not around, I'm pretty sure they're gonna be up there. But I, I just think LeBron and the Lakers are finally kind of coming to a head, and I don't want this to be all about LeBron because I want to give Anthony Edwards his flowers, right? Because Anthony Edwards, if he can do this, would have a crazy 2-year span, taking out KD, taking out Jokic, getting to the Western Conference Finals, having a rough start to the season, to the possibly knocking out Luka and LeBron, to go against possibly knocking out Steph and Jimmy, to going against his rival in SGA. I know Anthony Edwards doesn't want to be the face of the NBA, but if he does that, it's a hard case for him not to be the face of the NBA. Because you take down elite players in a 2-year span, especially this year where you all were supposed to be quote unquote bad without Cat. For him to do that, he would be arguably the face of the league. There is no argument for it. And the understanding of why he doesn't want to be the face and why simultaneously the NBA doesn't necessarily want him to be the face of the league, it's hard for him not to be the new face of the league. I know he doesn't want it, but it will be possible to fight at this point. Like LeBron and Steph will always be the face of the league while they're playing, but once they're gone, they're going to turn to you because for you to knock out Hall of Fame level talent in a 2-year span, being a young player that he is, being honestly the one of the most polarizing people in the NBA, you will be the face. You can fight it all you want. Destiny will arrive, and you will be the face of the league if you can do that. I still have Golden State getting to the Western Conference Finals, but that would be a crazy 2-year run for him. So you got to give credit where credit is due with Anthony Edwards. And with LeBron, honestly, at this point, if you hate LeBron, this does nothing but fuel the fire. If you love LeBron, this does nothing but make you defend him more. Like for LeBron, this is nothing new, right? LeBron's legacy is set. He's one of the best players to ever play basketball. You can make the argument on where he belongs in the GOAT conversation all you want. But LeBron is LeBron. He can lose in the first round. And like I said, if you hate him, this just gives you more ammunition. If you love him, this just makes you pick up your shield even more. But what this season would boil down to is, are the Lakers set up to go further, right? Post LeBron, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's going to try to stay in for, Bryce to get in there. And then I'm pretty sure after that, he may end up retiring. With his 2 sons in the NBA, there wouldn't be much left for him to do, right? He's not gonna get 7 rings, right? He's got the scoring title. He'll probably end up at the very least with most, if not all, of the NBA records. He'll be statistically the best player in the NBA. And people will make their arguments for or against it. But LeBron's legacy is set. This will be important for Luka's legacy because now will be the time to where you're on the flagship franchise. You had the rumors about how you were out of shape, how you were gassed in the playoffs. That's the reason why y'all lost in the finals. Your defense isn't strong enough. Offensively, yeah, you're there, but people use you as a turnstile. This will be a chance for Luka to step up and prove that he is the new face of the league. And I will love to see the Anthony Edwards-Luka matchups going forward. Like, this is starting to become a very good rivalry. Because Luka bumped him out in the Western Conference Finals last year. Anthony Edwards has a chance to get his revenge this year. You're on the flagship franchise, so everybody's going to be coming for your neck. This is how you start an organic rivalry, not a media-based rivalry, not a fake one, not, one where they try to tell you it's a rivalry when it's not really a rivalry. This is where rivalries start. He's already got one going with Jaylen Brown. He needs one with Anthony Edwards. If the Timberwolves can do this, they set themselves up to be fantastic going on further. If the Lakers end up losing, they set themselves up pretty good going forward. But as far as where does this fall on LeBron's legacy? Again, at this point, it doesn't matter. Because the more important topic is this the start of the Anthony Edwards legacy in the NBA? Sustainable force in the East. I think he has officially shown that he's tried everything and it's just not working. Right? Another first round exit after yet another disappointing season when the Bucks did everything in their power to kind of get Giannis back to a championship, going to get Dame, it not panning out. I still don't know why they decided to go get Doc Rivers of all people to coach this team if they're trying to win a championship. But I just think Giannis is done in Milwaukee because he sees that his window there has closed. And I'm not going to stipulate on, speculate on where he's going to go. Would it be Chicago? Will it be LA? Would it be New York? It, you know, his time in Milwaukee was something to behold, right? To see the skinny kid from, Greece, explode into being one of the best players in the world, right? To lead Milwaukee to a title, to be arguably the face of the international NBA, right? For him to do the things that he has done in Milwaukee and for it to only really pan out one time when he's had opportunities to do it too. I just think his time there has come to an end, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that Milwaukee did not put their best foot forward for him to get back to a championship. Firing the coach that won him to go get Doc, like I said, Doc Rivers, who hasn't even sniffed the conference finals in about 10 years. Traded away primarily the reason why you got to the finals in the first place to go get Dame, and for it to kind of pan out the way it did with them not being able to get out of the first round. Injuries aside, you were not able to be that dominant force in the East that you were supposed to be. And while I don't think this hurts his legacy, I just think it hurts his morale in Milwaukee. And I think it's just time for him to make the switch. I know everyone is going to start with the Photoshop Carmana edits of Giannis as their team, but I do think he will go to a place where he can win a title. I think he does want to go to a place where he has better opportunities. So it's probably going to stay in the East. I do think he goes to a big market team, like in New York, like Chicago, right? I think he goes to that team. And especially for him to go out against Indiana twice when the people that were supposed to help you got hurt multiple times, when you weren't able to finish the job, it weighs hard on someone. And Jimmy's a perfect example of like not giving it your all and not having the, results be shown for it. And I think it's just an appropriate time frame for him to leave and try to win a title someplace else. And again, Milwaukee's going to be gracious in it. Obviously, they're not going to just let him go, but they're going to try to find where they can get the most value for him. It's most likely going to be a trade. And I think his time in Milwaukee will be remembered for the fact that he did elevate that team from being a laughing stock of the league to, potential powerhouse. And they have the capability of rebuilding. But again, they traded away what made them special, the defensive end, right? They traded away to get more offensive firepower, and it showed that it didn't work like that. They need more defense, especially in the East, to compete with those teams. And now it's just getting to the point to where Giannis is tired. And what I don't want is I don't want this to end up like the Jimmy Butler Miami Heat situation to where the divorce got messy near the end. Right? To where it now shows that the appreciation only went so far. Obviously, this is a business, so it's not like they have to do anything proper with them, right? We've seen Luka Doncic gets traded. Anything is possible in the league right now. But I think a guy who brought you a chip, who gave it his all to put Milwaukee on his back to show up and show out for this, not only the team, but for the city itself. You have to do him justice by giving him an opportunity to get to a team that he wants to go to. As far as Dame goes, with Dame, this is hard because his legacy, I don't want him to team hop. I don't want him to become basically a mercenary and go into teams to try to win. I do hope he does go to a team and an organization that will help him do that. But for Dame, it's going to be harder because Dame doesn't have that proven track record of being able to be, the guy when they need you the most, right? Because at a time frame, it was a very hard conversation between Damian Lillard and Steph Curry, best point guards. In the time frame, it was that. And then once Steph kind of blew up, became NBA Steph. A lot of it became down to, is Dame capable of doing that, and is he capable of doing it where he is the guy? This team is going to get broken up into parts. The value of a Damian Lillard still holds weight, but it just depends on whether they're going to offer. Because he can still play. When healthy, Damian Lillard is still one of the best players in the NBA. One of the most impactful shooters in the NBA. Can score 20 anywhere. But his problem is finishing. His problem is defense. Is a team willing to risk essentially their future on a guy they don't know is capable enough to carry them to where they want to go? Then that's the problem that they have right now. Is this team has been pushed to the moon and they didn't even hit the stars. So I just see Giannis taking a bow and saying, that's all, folks. I don't think he'll do the whole LeBron James thing and take his jersey off in the tunnel, but this summer is going to be very interesting to see where and if Giannis does decide to leave. And that same applies to Jokic. I think Jokic wants out of Denver too. I think everything going on in Denver, like, yes, they're having an amazing playoff series with the Clippers, but if the Nuggets end up getting a first round exit as well, we can see this team getting broken up too. Jokic wants to, he wants to be at home. He doesn't really care about the NBA like that per se. He still is one of the best players to do it. But I can see Jokic being like, all right, I want a title, I'm gonna hang it up, or at the very least, say I'm gonna step away for a few years and then come back maybe. But those two players are the international NBA legit stars, right? Both I know a lot of people want to say Luka, but Luka doesn't have a chip. Those two do have a chip. And at the very least, I think they may explore their options. Sure, they may come back, but at the very end of the day, I can see one of them leaving. And I feel more strongly about Giannis Antetokounmpo leaving Milwaukee than I do Jokic leaving Denver. But I can still see both of those happening this summer. Again, where they go is another topic for another time, but I definitely can see them leaving and going to different teams next year. First round exit after not just any first round exit, a sweep blowout, right? The Heat are going nowhere. The Heat are one step above the Bulls. They do just enough to get into the play-in. Mind you, they were riding in a 10-game losing streak when they got into the play-in. They do just enough to get to the play-in. And outside of that 1 year where they did go to the finals, 3 years in the play-in, one final appearances, multiple first-round exits, loss of Jimmy Butler. I believe Pat is too stuck in his own ways to understand that times are changing, that you cannot just have, team grit and win it. You have to have a star or two to kind of, establish yourself. And his stubbornness of going to get Dame, right? His stubbornness of trading to get another star over there. His, thing about building within, right? Like, you do have Bam, you do have Tyler Hero, but as we've seen, that's not enough to competently, succeed in the playoffs. Yeah, you can get into the playoffs when you win the play-in games, but if the reward of that is to play the number one seed each year and get swept or gentlemen swept, at what point do you think, okay, something has to be done differently here? And at what point do you look in the mirror and say, like, it may be my time to step down? Because Heat culture and Miami, Miami Heat culture and Pat Riley's way of thinking is not working for them anymore. And it may be time for him to step down. It may be time for him to step aside. It may be time for him to reevaluate and say, we need a younger, fresher face in here. We need someone that understands that just because, hey, you get to come to Miami and play doesn't mean as much as it used to. Right? Again, imagine having a hard time recruiting 21 to 29-year-olds to come to Miami of all places to play basketball. Imagine having a hard time doing that with younger talent. Pat is without a doubt a legend in this game, a Hall of Fame legend. Creating the Showtime Lakers, drafting Dwayne Wade, getting Chris Bosh and LeBron James, winning those titles with them. But as we have seen, it is now starting to be a burden onto them. And I don't want him to kind of go out like Jerry, to where I don't think he's chasing titles. I just think he's too stubborn to see that his way is failing. The same way I said about Jerry is the same thing I'm wanting to say in a different way about Pat. It is time to take the keys away from Grandpa. Not because he can't do it, but because it's starting to impede his success down the line. Right? Heat culture is, I'm not saying you have to change up Heat culture. I'm not saying you got to get rid of everybody top to bottom, but I think it's just time to see Pat Riley step down, right? It's time to get someone newer in there. You can elevate, maybe if you want to, Eric Spoelstra there, right? Like, he's a Pat Riley guy, so he'll have the Pat Riley mentality, but with a younger spin on things. Or find someone different to kind of change up the mentality there, so that way you just aren't still constantly just getting into the playoffs. You're dominating. You're a top seed in the East in the playoffs. Get back to those levels of what you were before, the whole Jimmy Butler debacle. Or if you want to, you can, again, stay with that Heat culture. Just find players that appreciate that type of, mentality and grind. But you have to change up something, because once again, yet another exit in the first round after getting swept, blowed out, right? Like, the game was over at halftime. It was like 78-32. The game was over at halftime. Like, I know the Cavs are a great team, but if you're Miami, you're supposed to be able to, at the very least, make it look competitive. At the very least. But you wasn't. And when have we ever seen a Pat Riley team not fight, not show some type of grit, not show some type of competition? They gave up. We have never seen that from a Pat Riley team, where a team has given up midway during a game. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Pat is stubborn and does not want to change his outlook on the game. Because it worked for him, he has the cachet to be like, hey, it's my ship. I can steer it how I want to. But if you're steering into an iceberg and somebody else iceberg and you don't listen to him, it deserves to sink. I think Pat Riley will see, after he takes a long look at it, and see that it might be me. It may be me. Because something has to change if we want to get back to the level of competition we were at previously. And yeah, the player talent might not be there without Jimmy Butler, but you have Bam. You have good pieces there. Bam, Tyler Hero. You have pieces that you can build around. But if you are too stubborn to see how the league has changed since you did win those titles, icebergs are coming. For podcast listeners, and you can listen to the podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Podcast listener, there's an alleged sign right here, it's on the corner of my corner of my eye, because everything I'm going to say is alleged. Nothing has come out in full blown right now. This is a he said, she said situation. But everything I'm going to say is alleged. If you don't know, Shannon Sharpe, ESPN, Nightcap, Uncle Shay Shay, Club Shay Shay, you know him, right? He's currently in a little bit of legal trouble, right? His 19-year-old girlfriend is suing him for damages, potential sexual assault, whatever you want to go there. Yeah, she's suing him for 50 million. Conveniently after he signed $100 million contract. Very convenient. But the I'm going to say this, and for a lot of people, it's going to shut them off or turn them off. But Shannon Sharpe legally did nothing wrong. It is not illegal to be a little freaky deep. And if you saw the text between the two, it was a little freaky deaky, right? Dog collars, put a baby in me, give me that baby gravy. I want 25K for each cheek. Legally, she is an adult. If we want to have the conversation about consenting adults and age of consent, we can have that conversation if you want. But as of right now, legally, she is an adult. So legally, she did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. Both of them were consenting adults who consented to these acts. Whether money was involved or whatever, they are both legal consenting adults. Morally, this is wrong as hell. You're a 56-year-old talking to a 19-year-old. What in the blue blazing hell do y'all have? 2 years ago, her main concern was going to prom. 2 years ago, your main concern was wondering who you took to prom in the 70s. Y'all don't have much in common, but that one thing that y'all have in common. Morally, this is 100% wrong. Legally, they're going to have a hard time proving that he did anything wrong just because, again, they are consenting adults. Obviously, now more women have come out, and it's a whole big shabaco that's going on right now. My issue is Shannon, Mr. Sharpe, if you will. You messed up your bag for some cheeks. You messed up the Disney bag for some cheeks. You signed $100 million contract. And then you offered to pay this girl $10 million to go away. You gotta wait till the contract is signed before you pay anybody off. Legally, he's in the clear. Morally, he's 100% wrong. And he messed up the Disney bag because Disney kicked him off. They said he's stepping down. Obviously, we know he's not stepping down of his own fruition, but they said he's supposed to come back before the NFL season starts, but I don't know if he will. I truly think Shannon Sharpe is done at ESPN because Disney can forgive one of these mix-ups, not the level of this one, right? Because the Instagram live one, you could have played it off as like, senior ignorance and not knowing how this thing works, and oops, I saw it and it was on live and it was funny. People were making jokes about it. People were memeing it, spoofing it, doing whatever, right? This one is hard because this one is going to a court of law. And the court of public opinion has already shown that they do not want this. And we can talk about how it's unfair to Shannon. She was trapping him. She was trying to get the money from him. Yeah. Shannon's 56 years. He's been on this life a quarter of a century. Not a quarter, a half of a century. And it's not like Shannon Sharpe is this like dude who just made it, after doing this for a few years. Like, he's been in the league. He should know somebody wants him for his money versus actually likes him. And we can talk about different athletes dating younger women all you want, but at the end of the day, they know how to make sure they protect themselves. I don't think Shannon had anyone in his camp that will say, this is probably not a good look. Y'all should probably break up before something like this happens. Or you should probably do this before something like this happens, because now that you're in the muck now. People have written you off. People love a comeback story, but right now you are not in that comeback story arc. You messed up the bag for yourself immensely over some cheeks. Let this be a lesson to everybody. Do not. One of the things my uncle used to tell me, do not, I repeat, do not chase chicks, chase the money. The chicks will follow you. You chasing chicks, money walks away. And you messed up the Disney $100 million bag over some cheeks worth $50K. Get you an old chick, my boy. They don't want the money. They don't care about it. All they want to make sure is you taking your high blood pressure and high cholesterol medicine. Because the last thing they want to do is wake up dead. Or the last thing they want to do is have you wake up dead next to them. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. Thank y'all for listening. Again, the Thank You for Listening Podcast Awards is out. The link is in the bio. Just click that one. Click because I have a live mic for Best Internet Radio Show. And also you can write me in for Best Internet Sports Radio Show. So you make your decision. But again, shout out to Fluent Radio for putting me on. Until next time, guys, I got 2 fingers for you. Deuces. Because I Have a Live Mic was proudly presented to you by Fluent Radio, where all things are fluent. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right, 2 fingers. Deuces.